Actually, my first meeting with Srila Prabhupada was not physical, but on the spiritual plane. Somehow, when I met the devotees in Vancouver in the summer of 1971, I'd been really urgently searching for a true spiritual guide. And when I met the devotees, I remember, I think the second week after I moved in the temple, there was a nice photo that they were sharing that had just arrived from Los Angeles, and showing Srila Prabhupada with a dozen disciples who were all kneeling as Prabhupada was arriving. And the gaze on Prabhupada's face was so saturated love and concern, and such a beautiful, loving glance he had. And all the devotees, you could see, they were so inspired and they were so nourished by Prabhupada's loving glance. And I was so moved to the core of my being. And I said, oh my God, how great that this pure saint is, because that he can draw out so much love from his followers. So somehow I was blessed with a tiny drop of Prabhupada's Krishnananda. It was very powerful, and it's been one of the great sustaining forces in my life, for sure. Prabhupada is not of this world. He came to bring us out of this world, and he came with the full package, the highest knowledge, the deepest, purest love, and Ananda. Prabhupada was always in Ananda, but it was his preaching, it was his compassion that dominated his life. He spent every ounce of his life to give Krishna to the whole world, and we were dragged or pulled into that divine force, and it was so amazing. We've had such extraordinary lives because Prabhupada brought us into his service to his guru, the greatest ongoing miracle. It's like amazing. I remember my second time I saw Prabhupada in late July 1972 in New Vrindavan. There was this amazing gathering of devotees for the Bhagavad-Dharma discourses, and Prabhupada drew devotees from all across the country. Even some came from Europe to take part in this historic event. And so when Prabhupada was going to deliver the first major lecture, at the top of the hill, they had built a special pavilion, open air, just the roof, and it was a nice hill to go up. So we had to carry Prabhupada on the palanquin up the hill. And so somehow Keshava and Prabhupada's entourage, Prabhupada was just arriving in his car, and Keshava chose a few tall devotees, and I was chosen, okay, you're going to help carry Prabhupada's palanquin. So we brought the palanquin closer to Prabhupada's car. He came and he got on the palanquin, and when we lifted it, it didn't have any additional weight. Like Prabhupada's, by his mystic power, he was weightless, and it was like quite nice. So that was a beautiful thing to experience. And then we brought the palanquin up the hill, and there was 400 devotees behind us having a rip-roaring kirtan. And Prabhupada looked so regal and so majestic, but yet he had such a humble demeanor. It was very, very amazing. That's one of Prabhupada's qualities beyond this world, He was both humble and majestic in the same person all at once, because he was pure devotee and no ego, but he was channeling all this potency. And yet he always had this beautiful, humble, nice, natural, spontaneous, loving nature. I also once gave a garland to Prabhupada 6 months later in LaGuardia Airport with Rupanuga given me the chance to offer that garland to Prabhupada. And when I walked up to him, Prabhupada and our eyes met, and Prabhupada sort of bowed in such a beautiful, humble manner to say, oh, you're offering this nice thing to me? You could see it in his eyes. He was so, touched by a very small offering, And I was a bit nervous, but I could see Prabhupada's loving, humble nature, and it was such an inspiration to have that, in his presence. Everything was so magical. Perhaps the best story I can share. Of course, I was always thankful to Prabhupada for giving me so many wonderful associates. I was on the library party, and I had some wonderful friends there. Ganesham became Bhakti Tirtha, Chiru, Mahabodhi, Sahotra. I developed very deep friendships with these wonderful devotees. And so I'd been traveling with the library party, and we all congregated in Chicago End of July 1975, Radha Damodar party was there, and there was a big initiation that week. And there was a darshan where Sadhguru, our team leader, brought us all to meet Prabhupada. And then he, as soon as we were in Prabhupada's presence, within a couple of minutes, Prabhupada turned to Sadhguru and he said, "So you brought your men?" And so that was the cue for Sadhguru to name his team. So he started with Ganesham, Mahabhuti, Sahotra, etc. And I was forgotten. That was no big thing. But then 2 minutes later, in a pause, Sadhguru said, "Oh, there's another new man from Canada. His name is Gokulananda." And Prabhupada said, "What is that?" And Sadhguru repeated, "Oh, Gokulananda's there." Prabhupada said, "Oh, such a nice name, Gokulananda." And it was so intense and beautiful, Prabhupada's ecstasy. His face was filled with ecstasy and this effulgent smile. And the ecstasy from Prabhupada entered into everyone's heart. The whole room became filled with ecstasy. There was about 20 of us devotees there, and everyone felt the magic of Prabhupada's ecstasy. We were engulfed in his ecstasy. It was really beautiful and memorable. And every time I meet some of my friends like Sesha and others, they often remind me, and they say, "Gokulananda." That was Prabhupada's way of sharing the ecstasy, sharing the love. That was magical. And of course, I think of that practically every day. It's the best memory, because that's such a beautiful name of Krishna. It's very suitable to my own meditation, because I always was fixated and interested on Ananda. Who has Ananda? Who has the best Ananda? Prabhupada has the best Ananda because he loves Krishna, who is the source of all Ananda. So that was very, very beautiful, extraordinary. I was still new to the movement, 4 months in the movement. By this time, our president, Mahatma Das, in Vancouver, he went traveling and he never returned, because we also didn't have a suitable temple. We got overrun by, anyway, we had to move, and we went to Victoria, BC, from Vancouver to Victoria, and there was Baudak, who later, a few months later, became our new president. Anyway, so we were at Baudak's place, and we were going out on Harinam. This was like the week before Christmas. And one day, I always enjoyed distributing back to Godheads. That was my thing with the Harinam party, And I was very good at it, and also it was the most satisfying service. And I continued selling back to Godheads for years. So that day I was spacing out, because it was like the Christmas Eve, and my family back in Ottawa were very disturbed that I had joined, and I knew that they were going to be rarely, disturbed. He's not here at Christmas. He's left us. He's abandoned us. So all my thoughts were going in a whirlpool. I was, oh my God, what's happening? Why am I not focused? I'm here. I have to do my duty, and I have to. So I just shook my head literally, and I said, Prabhupada, send me someone to preach to. There was a guy walking by, and he was like gone. He was 30 feet down the sidewalk. And as soon as I had that thought, that guy stopped, turned around, and practically ran to me. He walked real fast right in front of me. He says, "Hey, what's this all about anyway?" And I was just calling out to Prabhupada, an instant response. And I said, "Oh, thank you, Prabhupada." Wow. If Prabhupada is the external super soul, identical with super soul. Whatever Prabhupada wants, Krishna does. It's amazing. And I've experienced that many, many times while doing books and other services. You can be so close to Prabhupada if you really put your heart and soul into it. You can be right there with him. In fact, that was Prabhupada's power, or he always said that I've never been separated from my spiritual master. Of course, I don't pretend to have anything like that Guru Nishta, but it's there, it's available. You can actually, and it's not just for us Prabhupada disciples, it's available to everyone who gives their hearts to Prabhupada's mission. Prabhupada can be right there with them every day of their lives. I had a little bit of that realization throughout my life. So Prabhupada is the sustainer, the maintainer of his devotees, and the goal. We will all join with Prabhupada in our eternal service to Lord Chaitanya. That's very nice. Hare Krishna. Well, I've always felt that Srila Prabhupada is the maintainer of his sincere devotees. And the beauty about Srila Prabhupada is that he's the living proof of everything he taught us. If you want to know how to serve and love Krishna, everything about Prabhupada teaches us that in the most glorious way. And I've always been so eager to hear more and more about the beautiful truths that Prabhupada has shared. But his very life is a demonstration of those truths. That's the beauty of it. So I've always been inspired to have any information about Prabhupada's life, and all the biographies and personal accounts are so valuable because they really strengthen our inspiration and our dedication. So I'm very grateful.
Je anilo premadana Karuna prachu